Rwanda has been hit with sanctions by the United States for its alleged support of a rebel group that uses child soldiers. U.S. Assistant Secretary in the Bureau of African Affairs, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, announced the sanctions on Thursday in an online forum with reporters from Africa. Thomas-Greenfield submitted many more details, but says the sanctions are related to M23, a rebel group in eastern Congo that Rwanda is accused of supporting.
Under the Child Soldiers Protection Act, we have just announced those countries that are being sanctioned under that act, and Rwanda is one of those countries. Our goal is to work with countries who have been listed to ensure that any involvement in child soldiers, any involvement in the recruitment of child soldiers stop. In this case, it was related to M23, and we will continue to have discussions with the Rwandan government on that issue.
The United Nations experts say Rwanda has provided arms and training to M23. The group has seized territory in Congo's North Kivu province. Rwanda has repeatedly denied supporting the rebels. For more details on the developing story, we are joined by VOA State Department correspondent Scott Stearns. Hello, Scott.
Hi, Vincent.
So first, what is the Child Soldiers Prevention Act?
Sure. This act requires the Secretary of State to identify countries that have governmental armed forces or government-supported armed groups that recruit and use child soldiers. Countries so identified are not eligible to receive certain forms of military assistance unless they get a presidential waiver. Countries this year so identified are Burma, Central African Republic, Chad, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda, Somalia, South Sudan, Syria, and Yemen. That happened earlier this year. What's happened now is a decision by the president what countries get waivers, what countries don't. Chad, South Sudan, and Yemen will get full waivers, in part because they have a program to mitigate the use of child soldiers along with the United Nations that's already in place. Democratic Republic of Congo and Somalia will get partial waivers to those sanctions. Burma, the Central African Republic, Rwanda, Sudan, and Syria get no waiver, and thus the sanctions will be applied in full.
Now, tell us, what does it mean for Rwanda and the CAR in this case, in that they don't get a waiver?
Neither Rwanda nor CAR will receive what's called International Military Education and Training funds in fiscal 2014. However, a senior State Department official told me this morning that Rwanda will continue to receive support for peacekeeping operations, which are not covered under this Child Soldiers Prevention Act. According to the State Department, this action's been taken because of the Rwandan government's support for M23, which they say is an armed rebel group which continues to actively recruit and abduct children in Rwandan territory, and Rwanda's involvement and support for the M23 threatens peace and stability in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo.
Now, everybody has been hoping for a game changer in the peace efforts in the DRC. Is this likely to be that?
Well, as we talked last week from the United Nations, Rwanda doesn't even acknowledge its support for the M23, so you're a long way from getting them to stop that support. There was some progress, I think, with the government in Kinshasa. The government of Joseph Kabila has said that members of M23, 100 of the leaders of M23 will not be granted any sort of immunity, any sort of pardon in what sort of peace deal, regional deal can be put together to solve this problem. As you know, there are ongoing talks in Kampala that include some of the broader contributing issues to instability in Eastern Kivu, which is what Rwanda's been calling for all along.
Scott, thank you very much. Well, that's VOA's Scott Stearns reporting live from the U.S. State Department.